Before we introduce them, though, I'm going to give the mayor a chance to introduce himself and say a couple of words, and then we'll get started.
Again, like she said, thank you guys for coming. We're going to do this a little different tonight. 4 years ago when I ran, actually I sat up here and took questions along with the group that was up for nomination. And this year, since I'm running unopposed, which I appreciate at this point, I'm not going to necessarily sit up here and take the questions that they're going to be given tonight. However, if we get a chance at the end of the night here, we'll take some Q&A from the audience. So anyway, just a couple quick things before I throw it over to them. I do want to take a chance to thank Chamber and PCDC for putting this together. They recently did one for the school board, which I know was well received, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to do it. Obviously, thank you guys for coming out. Thank you guys for coming out and wanting to get educated about what's going on in Polk City, taking the time to get connected with your community, people who are running for election, myself, you know, any of those type of things that we've got going on. And thank these guys for running. 4 years ago, when I was in their seat and running for first term in office, I'll tell you I was naive to a certain extent and didn't know what to expect. But what I will say is, you know, after having given over 25 years of service to the community in some fashion, volunteerism in any fashion is not an easy thing to do, let alone putting yourself, you know, out there in the public eye and an elected official, especially in today's world that we live in, with the various social media outlets that there are. And everybody's real easy to hide behind a computer, but less likely to come speak to you face to face. So putting yourself out there, all of you need to be commended for taking the time and wanting to run for an elected office. As I've said to a lot of people who I've spoke to leading up to this election, I said I think that this is probably one of the more important elections that I can remember in recent memory. Having said that, the reason is because we actually have a council member who's stepping down. He just chose not to run, Councilman Rob Mordini. We greatly thank him for his many years of service, but he chose not to run this time. So no matter what, we have a change coming to our council. I think that this is an important election because of the times that we live in, whether it's what's going on in Polk City, whether it's what's going on in the metro, whether it's what's going on in the state, or whether it's what's going on in the world. I think that this is a very important time for Polk City. I think that, personally, I think we're on the right track. I'm excited about where Polk City's at. I'm excited about where we're going. I could stand up here and talk to you about the $80 million of growth that we've seen over my last term, $20 million that was before that. I honestly believe that we're still on track this year. I think Gary would probably back me. I think we'll probably see another close to record start with single family housing. You know, before I took office, we were running in the neighborhood of about 48. Last year we were 81, and I think this year we'll probably crest that number. Growth is coming, you know, and I know that growth has been brought up already in a couple news articles regarding growth, and I think certain people have different views on what growth looks like. Growth is coming all around the metro, and I think that you don't have to drive too far out of Polk City to take a look at growth in other directions. Drive 50-mile radius around Polk City and take a look at some of these communities and the general direction that they're going. I would take what we have in a heartbeat versus the direction that some of these other communities are going. I've talked to leaders in the other communities in the metro. They're jealous about what we have going on. We had a meeting just this Wednesday with the Greater Des Moines Partnership talking about what's going on in Polk City. They were thrilled to hear what we have going on. Actually shocked with a couple of the comments that we told them about the number of starts that we had. Our average new start house of $365,000, our lowest tax rate in Polk County compared to all the other municipalities. Other communities see what we have going on. I would say that in the last several years, specifically even over the last 4 to 5 years, we've made a name for ourselves in the metro. I think that it's important that we remain a player in the metro. We remain out front with what we've got going on in Polk City, and I think that it's important that these other communities see what we've got going on. I think, as you all recognize, we don't necessarily have to attract residential growth in Polk City, but what we are attracting as far as growth goes is good growth. And what do I mean by good growth? I mean, the fact is that you don't have to drive too far, and I think you can drive within Polk County, you can drive just over into Dallas County and a couple other areas, that they're getting growth, but they're getting growth at the cost of tax abatements. They're getting growth at the cost of 10-year tax abatements. that are costing those communities long-term. They're costing the schools long-term. We don't have to do that. We're able to have new family starts in the neighborhood of $365,000. That's a big deal. You've got new commercial growth that's going on. Drive around the bridge corridor and see the new commercial growth that's going on out there. That's exciting. Drive out to Vista Lake, see the ground that we just broke out there last Monday, you know, for an 11,000 square foot building that we're gonna, from City Laundering that's coming in from Osage, Iowa. That's exciting. We've been working on a lot of these things behind the scenes for the last couple of years. They're finally taking off. What I encourage you to do tonight is to get educated with the people who are up here running. Figure out where they stand on some of these issues that I think are very important. I think what's very important as far as from what I'm concerned is that we remain with that forward progress. I think anything different would be a mistake. I think that we've been working really hard over the last 4 years, particularly since I've been in office, and I know they were all working, and I give everybody credit that was before where I was by far, but I know from the last 4 years that I've been here, we've worked really hard to get to where we are, and I want to continue that trend. Before I turn it over to them, there is a group that I want to thank. There's a couple of them here tonight, but it is our staff. The staff of Polk City is second to none. I can't speak highly enough about them. They make my job easier. They make me look good. They make our council look good. We've seen a turnover in staff in the last 4 years. Biggest turnover that this staff has seen in recent memory. I don't know that we've ever seen anything like that. I appreciate the help that all of the people did before. And I'm just absolutely thrilled with the level of professionalism and teamwork that exists on all levels from our staff. So thank you guys for everything you're doing. With that being said, that's really all I have. I look forward to seeing how these guys respond tonight. Hopefully we'll get a chance to ask, you guys will get a chance to ask a couple questions afterwards. If not, feel free to find me afterwards or reach out to me in the next week. I'll be happy to talk to you. Thank you guys.
Okay, thank you very much. Alright, I'm Desiree Plyler. For those of you that don't know, I'm this year's Chamber President. I'm going to give each of you about a minute to introduce yourselves and how you're affiliated with the community, and then we'll get started with questioning, okay? Great, we'll go ahead and kick it off with you.
All right, my name is Dan Lane. First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor for keeping his comments brief. And I've been in town here for 27 years. I've been on the council now for 16 years. I grew up in Wisconsin on a dairy farm, but I've always kept that ethic with me. I consider myself to be blue collar and working man's representative, working persons, excuse me. And I'm retired, so I have the time to do things with the council more than most of them. Ron has joined me in retirement now, but so I have the time, I have the experience, and like I said, I've been Polk City citizen for 27 years, and I have a passion for this city and love what I'm doing and don't want to stop doing it.
My name is Michael Bakken. I grew up here, went to school here, graduated here, married a girl from here, moved back here, have 3 kids that go to school here. My mom owned a hair salon here in town. We owned the last house in town, built it in like '74. All the houses up Broadway, the school, the elementary weren't there. When my folks moved to town, my grandparents lived here. Just love the community. I volunteer on the Board of Adjustment. I coach soccer. I've been on the Little League board. I love Polk City. I mean, that's, I guess, partly why I'm running. I like the small town feel of Polk City. I think the growth, I guess, needs to be addressed in a way that if I wanted to move to a big town, I would have bought a house in a big town. And that's not what I was looking for when I moved back here to start a family. So.
My name is Brian Nelson. I grew up here. Lived here most of my life. Moved away when I was 23. Came back about 4 years ago after I married my wife, Angel. We have a 7-year-old daughter who's in 2nd grade, Alexandra. I am Vice President on Polk City Chamber of Commerce. I am on the Board of Trustees for the Polk City United Methodist Church. My family and I have a business here in town. You all might know it as Nelson Automotive. And like Mike, I'm running because of my love for the city. I've been here most all my life and want to be part of the progress.
you everyone for attending tonight. My name is Jeff Walters. I moved here from the Des Moines metro area in 2003. I moved out here because it was a great small town, had a great small town feel. It was a vibrant community then, and since then I've watched it grow and blossom to more than a community I could ever ask for. It's a wonderful community to live in. I'm looking forward to progressing that into the future. I have a wife, Kim, 2 daughters, Lauren in 1st grade, Rachel who's in preschool. They're not here tonight, they're at the community center trick-or-treating. I work for Steiner Associates, I'm a principal environmental scientist. That background is a key foundation to a lot of the fundamentals that I believe the city needs to help grow. I work with a number of engineers and planners that provide value to me in understanding how to make this community grow in a way that's necessary.
All right, I'm Mandy Vogel. I moved to Polk City in 2010 with my husband Justin. We have a daughter Brooklyn who is 6. Our son Tyson is 5. We moved here from Ankeny. I graduated from Ankeny. My husband is from a small town, and when we were getting ready to start our family, we looked, we came through Polk City a few times, and really when we decided that we wanted to build a house, Polk City was the only place we looked. We just fell in love with it instantly. We love the location, the amenities, the small town feel, so we've really enjoyed being a part of the community, and the reason I'm running is because I love Polk City. I know it's going through a lot of changes right now. I want to be a part of helping, plan for the future here and continue to keep Polk City a great place to call home and raise a family.
Terrific, thank you. This is Sheila, and she's going to be moderating and asking the questions.
I'm Sheila Mahan, and I am with the Chamber of Commerce. Just started there this year, so a lot of you guys are new faces to me, but I've had a chance to meet all of you guys and explain how we're going to do this. We have 6 questions tonight, and what we'll do is we'll start with Dan and go down, and then with the next question we'll just rotate on to Michael and go down so that each person gets a chance to be the first to answer and then the last to answer as well. So, you guys have any questions before we start? Okay, thank you. First question, Dan. What do you think is the most important issue facing the city in the next 2 years? And if you're elected, what would be your primary goal for the next year?
In my mind, the continued growth is going to be the most important thing. We planned very much ahead in the infrastructure. We have the WRA, so we won't have to worry about doing our own sewage treatment. We're hooked up to Des Moines Waterworks to supplement our own water. And what my primary would be in the next 2 years is to continue to manage the growth in the way that we have, and to have no new without raising any property taxes. I'm very proud of the fact that this council has never raised property taxes probably in 3 decades. And as the mayor said, we have the lowest of any municipality in Polk County, and it's my intention to keep it that way.
Thank you. Michael?
My answer is also growth. I think you're going to get 5 of those up here. The growth in Polk City has really taken off. I mean, every time I look, we're cutting down a tree, there's another development coming in. And it concerns me just a little bit, the pace of growth. I sat up here 4 years ago when I ran for city council. And everybody talked about a slow, steady pace of growth. I said the same thing. What I've seen in the last 4 years, I don't think is what I would call slow and steady. I think it's pretty rapid. I used to be able to drive down the street and name off where everybody lived. You knew who everybody was, whatnot. That's what a small town is. I think the city needs to look at their tree ordinance that they have in place. It needs to be strengthened. I drive by 3rd Street or on the way to Casey's and look to the left and see all those trees ripped down. I know they're going to build a house and have to plant 1 tree in the front yard. I think it needs to be a little more strenuous than that for a builder. Like the mayor said, people want to build here. we don't have any problem attracting those builders who want to build here, but let's have them build how we want them to build rather than how they can build now.
Ryan?
Well, of course, the major issue is going to be the growth. We need to, with growth, you can go in many different ways. And what I think we need to, what's going to be the biggest issue with growth is the infrastructure. We need to make sure our roadways are satisfactory. Make sure we have proper capacities for water and sewer and everything. Our roads, you know, the roads have been, we've had since I was a kid here, the roadways have been the same, there hasn't been any changes. And the capacity, the traffic that's been going on these roads lately, we've had a lot of traffic increase, we've had a lot of heavy equipment going on these roads, and we've had a lot of issues with increased accidents. An area over by Sandpiper Court, Pine Ridge, there was a lot of accidents in those areas, and the city went and they were able to redo that area with the help of the DOT, and it's changed significantly. And I think the safety of the roadways and the infrastructure is really going to be something we need to focus on in the future.
Thank you. Jeff?
Can you repeat your question, please?
Sure. What do you think is the most important issue facing the city in the next 2 years? And if you're elected, what would your primary goal be for the next year?
I don't think growth is an issue. I think it's an opportunity. Over the past 10 years, we've seen a steady growth rate in housing builds, with the exception of 2008, where we had a little bump because of a recession. But it's steadily grown, and the city has ordinance, staff, council in place to work with developers, to work with builders, to make sure we have good growth. And I think the staff has done a wonderful job in that. We've also relied on the Polk City, John Calhoun's, PCDC, sorry. They do an excellent job in recruiting commercial development into the city. So, to me, it's not just about putting a stranglehold on growth. It's about keeping that growth open and making sure that we have supply and demand based on the market. And within the growth issue, we need to consider infrastructure issues. Where we already have a lot of plans in place, we've already connected with Des Moines Water Works, we've connected with the WRA. We still have an issue with water. Within the next couple of years, if we don't increase our water supply and our water supply capacity, we're gonna have water issues. We need to be considering a plan that has already been enacted and make sure we follow through so that we have adequate water supply in the next few years. In addition, we need to continue the path that the city has gone down with managing their roads, the road network plan. If you were to talk to Public Works, which I did here very recently, Mike Schulte has stated the plan is in place. They've got a couple roads knocked out. They've got a couple roads here that they're going to be rebuilding the next few years. And then after that, it's maintenance. We need to make sure we maintain our roads. Watch for roads that are debilitated, get them grouped up together, reconstruct them at a bulk discounted rate where we have economy of scale.
Okay, thank you. Mandy?
All right, everybody knows growth is an issue right now in Polk City, and I also think it's a great issue to have. A lot of small towns are dying, and we're not a dying small town, so I also agree that we need to manage that growth appropriately, plan for the future, but also take care of what we currently have. I know the city has already identified water as a critical need for our community as we grow and move forward to serve our community. Over the course of the next year, a year passes pretty quickly, so I think initially is to see through some of those plans that the city has also already started as far as wheels in motion on addressing the most critical needs that are facing our community as we grow.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Michael, we'll start with you on this question. Where do your spending priorities lie? And similarly, are there areas you feel deserve more attention?
I think Polk City's a great town. A lot of opportunities as far as parks, great fire department, great police department. I think money needs to go towards quality of life issues for the people that live here currently, plus the people that are moving here. So we talk about roads, or people talk about infrastructure in the last question and whatnot. I live in a house that I don't have a sidewalk. My kids can't ride their bike because we're on a highway. I live in the city limits. How about a sidewalk? Maybe not curbs and gutters, but how about you connect me to a bike trail? I think that those issues for people that currently live here are important. I would spend money in that direction. I would definitely upkeep our parks. The square, I love it. I love it. It's the center of the community. I love the Four Seasons Festival. I love the bike rides that we have. I love the square lighting, and I would spend more money on those things. And just make sure that the people that currently live in town are benefiting from what the city's doing rather than just the people moving to town.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
I think as I stated before, with the spending, we need to keep up with our infrastructure, but we also need to look at the parks. We do have parks right now that have nothing in them, and we need to make them usable, make them attractive to the community. And we need sidewalks. I mean, I live right around the corner from Michael, and we're basically closed off to the rest of the town. There's no way, aside from driving, there's no way to walk out there. You don't want to walk down the roads, busy roads, off of 3rd Street. It's crazy busy out there. But we need to connect all the parts of the community. We need to have the proper sidewalks for people to use or ride their bikes, walk or ride their bikes. We need to have nice, clean parks, usable parks for the kids to use.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
Thank you. I had the opportunity to meet with a number of the department heads here in the last couple of weeks, asked them what some of their issues and concerns were. Public Works has a very large and insurmountable issue with water, like I mentioned before. That's probably a #1 priority. If we want to flush our toilets, wash our kids, wash our cars, and water the lawn, we need to step up and get that water issue taken care of. That's probably priority #1. In addition, maintain the plan that we have for improving our roads, maintaining our roads. Another key issue that when I spoke to the fire department as well as the police department, is maintaining public safety. And we have a great fire department, we have a great police department, we have great public service in EMS, but they still need resources, and we need to make sure that we look at their plans, look at their budgets, make sure those things are budgeted into the CIP over the long term, so that we hopefully never have to call 911, but when we do, we've got an ambulance there in just a couple minutes. We got a problem, we got a police officer there in just a couple minutes. And another issue that I think we need to continue to look at is parks. When I talked to Mr. Mahana, as well as Mr. Schulte, as well that was mentioned here a couple weeks ago at City Council, we have a plan in place, a phased approach to make improvements to our parks over the course of a couple years. Some of them will be greatly improved, some of them will have some minor improvements, but we'll definitely see improvements in parks.
Okay, thank you. Mandy?
All right. I think one of the priorities is quality of life. That, again, is what drew a lot of us to Polk City in the first place. That's what people love about the small town feel. The parks where you can take your kids, you can gather. So I think that plans to continue the parks, the trail system, anything like that, has that quality of life that we love about living in Polk City. But then I think that those things are obvious to us, and the next thing is infrastructure, the things that some people just can take for granted. You drive on the streets, but keeping up with the repairs of the existing streets, just to keep track of that, and support the growth as far as infrastructure. But then also public safety and those kind of services that, again, as citizens, you kind of, you don't see them like you see the parks, but they're needs that the city needs to make sure we're addressing as we grow, and that, again, our safety, our infrastructure, and those kind of things are in line with where they should be as we grow.
Okay, thank you. And Dan?
I would say that concentration needs to be in quality of life issues, and I'm a little bit more broad scoped in quality of life. I consider the streets and stuff to be a quality of life issue as well, not strictly infrastructure. And the council does have a plan in place where it's a two-phased approach, where we have smaller projects grouped together and every year have our annual street repair project, and then we have major road rebuilds. We've always been a pay-as-you-go and not running out and borrowing money to get stuff done. We wait till we have the money saved up. Sometimes there's not a major rebuild every year, but every other year is a goal to get a major road redone. I think that we will need to continue with that. Water, like I said, we've already got plans in place there. Polk City, Ankeny, and unincorporated Polk County went together on a study on how best to address our common issues. There's a plan been drawn up, and it's being more fleshed out now, but to have a new water tower that would be a shared use water tower with all three of those entities and a shared cost as well. So not only are we looking to maintain that infrastructure, we're always looking at ways we can reduce the cost to the taxpayer to get that done. And the last thing in recreation, yes, there will be tremendous growth done in our parks this year. We have, I forget, is it $200,000 or $300,000 earmarked, something like that, for the park system. And my main push, what I'm really running again, is I want to get that Polk City Connector Trail done, which would alleviate the problem along your road.
All right.
Michael, you have a nice big wide
Fine.
for your kids to ride on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Brian, I'm gonna start with you on this one. The issue of recreation facilities has become a question in this election. What are your thoughts on this issue, and if you feel there is a problem, how would you propose addressing it and or paying for it?
I think the recreational facilities have been a problem for a while, and we're getting some very nice parks. We do have parks that need equipment, need stuff done to them. We have some parks in town that you can only really get to by foot or by bike. I mean, we have Leonard Park over on Parker. It's a great park. Has nice equipment on it. Kids love to play on it. But you either have to, you can't park on Parker. You have to park over on a different street that has a cul-de-sac there. You can't park in the cul-de-sac. And it would be nice, I think it'd be nice at some point if we could get a small parking lot there so that people from other parts of the community can enjoy that park. We have a lot of parks that need equipment, need updating. Another thing, of course, are the ball fields. The city's really growing, and we've outgrown the ball fields as ball fields we used when I was a little kid. And they've been outdated, and the soccer program and the Little League program have done a great job of trying to supplement and use other areas of the city to keep up with the growing leagues. But I think we really need to do something, maybe bring back the bond vote again to try to get new facilities, get larger facilities to keep up with the growth that we've had and with future growth. Because we have way outgrown the facilities that we currently have over on Bridge Road.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, would you like me to read the question again?
That'd be great.
The issue of recreation facilities has become a question in this election. What are your thoughts on this issue, and if you feel there is a problem, how would you propose addressing it and or paying for it?
Well, as I stated earlier, there's already a plan in place to update a number of our parks here in town. We should see that over the course of the next few years. In terms of recreational facilities, we've gone out to vote twice in the past 7 years, and the community has spoken, and they voted it down twice. Going for another GO bond probably isn't the route. Instead, we probably need to look at our plans again. Maybe look with a public-private partnership. Maybe look at the school system, North Polk School District to see if they're interested in partnering. Maybe looking at private developers as well to see if there's an interest in helping us develop a larger recreational facility. We have some space available that we could use, but bonding's probably not the answer because it's probably not gonna go a third time. But the opportunity for partnerships, I think, is a very viable opportunity. If we can get some stakeholders at the table early on, if we can vet out any kind of issues, I think we have an opportunity to build a recreational facility. What we have now is what we have at the sports complex. The opportunity to build out there is unlikely. We can work with the Corps of Engineers, we can go through their environmental process, their due diligence process, and maybe squeeze out a little bit more, but it's gonna come at a cost to us, and maybe it'd be better off to use those resources elsewhere.
Okay, thank you. Mandy, would you like me to read the question again?
Sure.
Okay, it's a longer one. The issue of recreation facilities has become a question in this election. What are your thoughts on this issue, and if you feel there is a problem, how would you propose addressing it and or paying for it?
I think the city definitely has a need for more recreational facilities. I'll admit I was pretty disappointed when the bond vote failed. I have, again, a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, and my 5-year-old practices soccer till dark. There's just not a lot of places to go and to juggle field schedules, all of that. I think it is a very important need for this community of growing families. I think, with things like that too, it can bring economic benefits, without sending kids to other communities to play, maybe where they can get different times and spaces, things like that. So I think it's very important that this community does get some additional recreational facilities in place. When the bond vote failed, and when I had heard that there was a previous bond that also failed, and neither one of them were close, I don't know that that would be my recommendation on an approach to go for again, because I want to see it happen. I want to see our families and kids and communities have this. So I think the city does need to maybe get creative and, some long-term strategic planning, working with, it was mentioned some businesses or just other solutions than just asking our taxpayers to support a bond issue.
Okay, thank you. Dan, would you like the question again?
No, I think I've got it now after it's been read a few times. I agree with all the rest of the candidates here that there is a definite need for expanded recreational facilities, especially in terms of ball, both softball, Little League, and flag football. And as everybody knows, that we put it out a couple of times for a bond vote, and it was resoundingly defeated both times. So that puts the onus back on the council to try to come up with other ways to fund these things, and we need to be looking into grant opportunities for this and for the trail. One of the reasons I am pushing so much for this Polk City Connector Trail, which, by the way, hooks the Neil Smith Trail up to the High Trestle Trail coming through town here, is because of the tremendous economic impact that will allow the city to do much more things. I spoke with some managers up in Woodward when the High Trestle Trail came through, and they said that the economic impact to Woodward is measured in the millions of dollars, not thousands, millions. So this is a tremendous opportunity, not only to support our local businesses, but to get more money in town in general, so that there's more tax revenue, and that we're able to do more opportunities recreationally.
Okay, thank you. Michael?
I agree there is a need for increased recreational facilities in Polk City. I think that the ones we currently have could be utilized better. A lot of kids play travel ball and all that kind of jazz. Have you ever driven by there on a spring day at 2 o'clock on a Saturday and nobody's playing ball? I can tell you that I have. So if we have so many kids, there are opportunities that both the Little League and the soccer program need to take a look at. I think taking a 5-year-old and traveling to Bondurant to play t-ball is a little crazy. And the fact that we have so many t-ball teams, we could just play each other week after week after week, never have to leave town, keep all our money here, play them in the afternoons on Saturdays, and you would open up other field space that could be used for kids of other ages to play during the day. I'm not saying that I wasn't disappointed as well when the soccer fields bond failed. I think the pool is probably what pushed it over the edge. There's a pool in Slater, there's a pool in Ankeny. You've got hundreds of thousands of gallons of water in 2 lakes. If you want to go swimming, you can go there. So the pool, I think, was the big issue. I think the town of Holman and the town of Polk City have come together to help the soccer program the best they can. There isn't anybody currently over 12 that plays a soccer game in town. The U14s, U16s, U18s play in Holman. I guess we want to keep them here. I guess we'll have to build them a bigger field, but that's how I feel.
Okay, thank you. And Brian? Should I start with
Already
you?
answered that. Yeah.
Okay.
You answered
I
it.
answered
You answered it.
it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I think I got some new material.
I'm sorry. Moving right along here. Okay, this time we are going to start with Jeff. Additionally, residential and commercial growth has been identified as a topic in this election. What is your position on the growth of Polk City, and is there something you feel needs to be done differently to promote or change the current direction of the community?
Well, as I've mentioned before, I think growth is a great opportunity here in town. I don't view residential development and commercial development as conflicting. They work in harmony with each other. We need to have the rooftops in order to get some of that commercial into town. You know, I want to make sure this community stays that small town feel, that nice feel, but I also want to make sure that we have the commercial amenities that we're sometimes lacking. But we need to have that good growth that we've had. We need to keep those residential rooftops coming in. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make sure you're done.
Keep it short.
Andy?
I also believe that balanced growth is important. We have a lot of new homes being built in Polk City. I think that is a good thing. And I think we've just started to see some momentum on the commercial front. And I think it's very important to have some more commercial businesses to help carry the tax burden, so that's not all on the individuals here. As far as continuing to attract some of that commercial growth, because again, the residential growth is being driven by demand. People know Polk City is a great place to live. We need to support the businesses that do come to town. We need to support our existing local businesses and make this a business-friendly community, a great place for not only families to raise their family, but again, that support of those businesses that do come to town, and keep building on that momentum.
Okay. And Dan?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. Additionally, residential and commercial growth has been identified as a topic in this election. What is your position on the growth of Polk City, and is there something you feel needs to be done differently to promote or change the current direction of the community?
I like the way the community direction it's going. We've had managed growth, in my opinion. It hasn't run away and is managing us like it has happened in some of the surrounding communities. I would like to see more commercial business get attracted to town so that we have the services that are needed so we don't have to. I mean, how many times you've been doing something and, oh, I gotta run all the way to Ankeny to get a bolt or a few nails or something. I'd love to have a hardware store back in town again. We need to continue to attract those, and I'm in favor of offering reasonable incentives to attract business, not giving away the farm. We've never had any outright tax abatements. We have some tax increment financing. That's how we're getting a lot of the new roads. That's how all of the roads in the old part of town, if you will, are going to get fixed faster than they would have otherwise without that. And all of our TIFs are a rebate TIF, so if they don't earn it and pay the money to us, we don't have to give them anything back. So we're not on the hook for anything. So all of the stuff we're doing is very sound judgment, very balanced, very managed.
Okay, thank you. And Michael?
I love the fact that Fairway's here in town. I grew up with a 4-aisle grocery store here in town. When it left, it did leave a hole. The little grocery store came to town that was Fairway before it was Fairway. They left, Fairway came. I think it's great. I talk about slowing down growth in Polk City. I'm not talking about stopping growth. But I think it needs to be, it just seems like an explosion to me. I know that like Waukee has 881 kindergartners this year in their community, and you know, I remember playing Waukee 25 years ago. I don't want this town to become that town.
Okay, Brian?
I think the residential and the commercial do coincide with each other, and you know, I think Polk City is always going to be a small town. I don't think we're ever going to explode into like a Waukee or Des Moines or Ankeny, West Des Moines area. But to get commercial, to get businesses in here, we need people. We're getting the people. We've exploded growth. When I was a kid here, I think we had 1,500 to 1,800 residents. Now we're around 5,000 or so. I'm not sure exactly where it is. That we need more businesses. We're lacking a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses that can attract more people. We're going to get to a point where if we don't have some of these businesses, Polk City may become a little bit less attractive. And I know the people here are definitely very supportive of the business. When we opened, we've been very successful with our family business here. I know when Fairway opened, they blew away what their expectations were. I think it's something commercial, getting businesses here, we really need to work on. We need buildings for them to go in. I know we got that new building across from Casey's on 3rd and Bridge Road. Nice, beautiful, big building. And unfortunately, we gained one business out of it. We really need to work on drawing more businesses to help support the city.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the fifth question, we're going to start with you, Mandy. How do you model good citizenship other than being an active member of the community?
I think being an active part of the community is that can mean a lot of things, but you know, I think it's not only serving in an official role, but you know, supporting community events, coming to the Four Seasons Festival, the Sounds on the Square. Polk City has a lot of great community events, so I think showing up to those. I think getting to know your neighbors, supporting the businesses in town. There are countless opportunities, and again, I think Polk City is a great place that it's easy to meet people. It's easy to attend events. I think the city does a great job of providing events on the square for its citizens to attend. I think those things are all very important. And I think, you know, down to, you know, being an active member of the community, I think talking about that with your friends, your neighbors, your kids, and just showing them that it is easy to get involved, to get to know people, and it's being involved in the community is something that's always been very important to me.
Okay, thank you. Dan?
Could you repeat, please?
How do you model good citizenship other than being an active member of our community?
Well, good citizenship to me means taking an active part. One of the things I identified in one of the newspapers that got a hold of me was transparency in government. And Polk City, we've accomplished tremendous strides in that area with changes in our website. We broadcast all of our council meetings live. This is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube. But I still think that the citizens own a little bit of that responsibility as well, to seek out the information and to be abreast of what's going on and to participate in your democratic right of voting. It's really a privilege more than a right, because it can be taken away. But I feel that a good citizen is an engaged citizen. That doesn't mean that you have to run for office or whatever, or come and sit at every meeting, but just take an initiative to find out what's going on, and most importantly, to vote. People all over the world are literally dying for that opportunity. And the turnouts in this town, especially on the off elections, are, I hate to use the word, quite pathetic. So whether you like me, don't like me, get out and vote. That's the most important thing.
Okay, thank you. Michael?
I believe a lot of the same things that people said. The community events are great. Your question didn't go towards active citizenship, but it all comes together. It's the coaching, it's the knowing your neighbor, it's the keeping up your own home, it's the helping your neighbor when he needs a hand and whatnot. It's also voting, and I agree with Dan. When I came in for the school board vote, I asked how many registered voters there were in Polk City. The lady at the desk told me there were 3,152. I know there were less than 400 people that voted for school board. So that's a 12% turnout for that. And I'm with Dan on this one. Whether you vote for me or you vote for one of the other 4 candidates up here, half the people should come out to vote. I mean, there's no reason. It is your right to vote. It is your opportunity to tell the city how you feel, and I hope that everybody does get out and vote.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
I don't think there's a particular model of being a good citizen. I mean, there's a lot of people, a lot of us that, like we're running for office, but there's a lot of people in this community that get involved with the community, but it's not just getting involved with the community. I mean, you can do so many other things. Participating in different events, just going to the events that we have around. I mean, the square lighting is an incredible event, and there's so many people from town that go to it, and we just fill out the square. And being supportive of your neighbors, your friends in town, helping out people when they're down and their families are going through a hard time, that's good citizenship. And this town's full of good citizens. I don't believe you have to get as involved as we're trying to do, but just being there for each other is good citizenship.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
There's all sorts of great opportunities for good citizenship here in the community. Joining local groups like Kiwanis, Masons, Polk City Women. Volunteering, I think, is a wonderful opportunity for just doing the right thing. Whether you're volunteering time at the library, whether you're going to the senior care facilities and spending some time with the folks there. Just going to the park and picking up a piece of trash, to help keep our community clean. It doesn't take much to be a good citizen, and for me, it starts at home. If I can teach my children to do good, my wife can help me do that, raise our children to be good citizens, I think I'm doing a good job. Making sure that my neighbors are doing good, talking to them, getting out, going out to the various events. We had the opportunity last night for Beggars Night. Might have been cold, but let's get some candy to those kids. The square lighting, Four Seasons Festival. There's numerous pancake breakfasts that you can attend. Well, you want to volunteer? I don't think anyone's going to say no to you. And finally, there's a responsibility for city council members to make sure that they volunteer for committees and boards so that our community can be represented. So there is some ownership to the council, to the mayor, to the staff to make sure that our good citizens are recognized when we're at the MPO, the Des Moines Partnership. And if I become city councilman, I hope to have those volunteer opportunities be given to me.
Okay. Last question, and we're gonna start back with you again, Dan.
Oh, okay.
That's why you sat here, isn't it?
You
Sitting at the
bet.
table. Please relate how you have contributed to our community.
Well, my biggest contribution to this community is the 16 years that I've served on the council. Like I said, several things have happened over that time that have assured that this community will remain viable for the foreseeable future. Number one amongst those was connecting to the WRA, the Wastewater Reclamation Authority. We knew that there was going to be a change in the discharge requirements from our lagoon, so we engaged Beister and Kim to do a study whether we should go to, it would require us to go to mechanical plant. Should we build that plant and operate it, or should we connect to the WRA? It came out just not even close, way, way cheaper to build a pipeline and hook up to the WRA than to build a mechanical treatment plant that would have to be monitored 24/7. And it would have, we would only been, our lagoons now would have been out tapped anyway. They were only good for about 5,000, which everybody guesses were there or a little bit north of there. So without that, having done that, we would have been in a world of hurt and deep in you know what. But that, and along with getting the Des Moines Waterworks in here to blend, we now have 600,000 wholesale capacity because we increased it 250,000 per day earlier this year. And that's about a $2 difference in the cost of 1,000 gallons of water. And during the winter, we're under that. In the summer, when everybody's watering and that big load, we can exceed that. And then we have to pay retail rates for the top of that. But we would never be in the position we are if we were still trying to limp off on our own wells still. So those are two contributions that have happened while I was on the council that this city would not be anywhere near in the position it is if we hadn't had that forethought to accomplish those things. Other than that, okay, that's it?
You're at 2 minutes.
Oh,
Do you have just one closing sentence?
just one closing. I'm currently the chair of the Economic Development Committee. I'm on the GIS Committee. I'm on the Safety Committee. I'm liaison to PCDC. I'm a board member of the I'm a member of Metro Planning Organization's Bike and Ped Roundtable, and I'm a board of directors for Metro Waste Authority. I chair their audit committee, and I'm a member of their executive finance committee. So I'm out there, I'm doing a lot for this city.
Thank you.
Can you
Michael?
read the question one more time?
Sure.
Thanks.
Please relate how you have contributed to our community.
I do a lot of things within the community that revolve around my children. I've coached chess club at North Polk. I've been on the volunteer fire department here in Polk City. I've been on the soccer board. I'm on the board of adjustment currently in town. I've coached soccer for 10 plus seasons. My wife teaches at the middle school. I'm at the middle school doing a lot. She coaches volleyball and basketball. I do a lot of scoring of that, which isn't necessarily fun, but it's okay. But I think the biggest thing is just talking to people within the community. I know a lot of folks. It's amazing the people that I talk to when they're looking for somebody to do something. You can relate to who someone else is or whatnot. Transferring that information about people who live in town, people that are new to town, people that I've coached, people that I currently coach, things like that. Just getting them introduced to each other is great. It strengthens the sense of community when everybody knows everybody. I think it's great. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Brian?
Well, I've been on the Polk City Chamber of Commerce board for 3 or 4 years now. This year I'm serving as the vice president of the Polk City Chamber of Commerce. I've also, last year, I organized the Sounds on the Square events. I had 3 very successful events down there. It was great to get involved with the community and met a lot of people down there. I coach soccer, and as I said earlier, I'm also on the board of trustees with the Polk City United Methodist Church. Also, another great thing is having a business here in town. I get to talk to people from the community every day, all day long. Get to hear their stories. Get to talk about what's going on around town. I love communicating with people, talking to everybody.
Okay. And Jeff?
I've been on the Planning and Zoning Commission from 2009 to 2011. I had to step down at the end of 2011 to start my councilman tenure from 2012 to 2015. Additionally, I've been a Four Seasons Festival Committee member from 2014 and then again from 2016 to current. Early this year, I volunteered to be a city representative for DART and have attended all their meetings this year. In addition, just being out in the community, listening to people, and most importantly, promoting this community when I'm at various meetings with other city leaders, county leaders, state leaders, making sure that they understand that Polk City is a great community, it's a growing community. We need the support from our adjacent communities. It's not just us versus them, Ankeny versus Polk City versus whoever. We're all in it together. When Des Moines wins, Polk City wins. When Ankeny wins, Polk City wins. When Polk City wins, they win. So it's important that when we're out in the community talking to various leaders, we make sure we give Polk City a good positive nod. And I think I've made that contribution over the past few years, actually since I've lived here since 2003.
Okay, and Mandy?
Read the question one more time.
Sure. Please relate how you have contributed to the community.
All right. I think I mentioned we moved here in 2010, and we have a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old. So my early stages here in Polk City, I had, I'd say, very minimal contribution outside of the home. But as our kids have gotten a little bit older, I'm currently on the library board. That was, I was really involved in the Ankeny community before moving to Polk City and having our family. So being an active, engaged member of the community is very important to me. The library board was where I started my involvement here in Polk City. You know, that was something that I kind of had the capacity to handle at the time, but I'm really excited, really passionate about serving this community as we move forward, and I hope that I get the opportunity to do so. I try to support local businesses. I'm a daily customer of the Rising Sun Cafe, and you like to go there. You know, and again, I tell everybody I know that Polk City is the best place to live. I strongly believe that, and I'm excited for the future.
Okay, thank you. So we've had a chance for all of you to answer the questions now. Jason, you've heard the questions, you've heard the answers. Is there anything that you would like to contribute at this point to maybe just wrap it up? And then we're scheduled to go until 8:30 tonight, so after this, we can take open questions from the audience.
I think
Would you
let's
like
take
to
some questions from the audience, and then I'll make a closing statement
Okay.
after that.
All right. So how should we do this?
Yeah.
I got a question. This is a pretty specific question compared to what, you've explained so far. I'd like to know what each of your position are regarding the fireworks ordinance. I don't know if everybody understands, but the current ordinance gives the citizens of Polk City the opportunity to fire off unlimited fireworks from morning till night for a week straight, both before and after the 4th. So I would like to know what your individual position is on that.
Can I take a swing at that first?
Sure.
I'd love to. So I've been pretty passionate about this issue, so I'm glad somebody raised it. This is not a Polk City issue, let's be clear about that. This was something that was pushed onto us from our local legislators down at the State House. Shouldn't have been given to us in the first place. We do have it now. It's a problem. I totally agree it's a problem. I agree it's a problem not only in our community, but I agree it's a problem in the entire metro. I agree it's a problem in the entire state. The reality is that we were forced into a position to make a decision at the very last minute because of the last minute decision by the governor to sign the bill when he did at the 11th hour, which really pushed us into a corner to make a decision to have enough time to have our readings of our ordinance, to have it in place by the time the 4th of July holiday came around. We did at the time what we thought was the best solution based on the problem that was put in front of us. The thing that we did was we put a moratorium on sales in order to stop the sale of any fireworks being allowed in Polk City. We just extended the moratorium on that sales of fireworks until we could get through the end of this holiday. We did not allow for any fireworks to be discharged over the New Year's Eve holiday and the Christmas holiday, similar to what some of the other communities did. Some communities opted for a full-out ban, some opted for a one-day ban, some opted for a one-day usage, some opted for the full 1 month that the state pushed down. What we did was something that we tried. I'm not saying it worked, but it's something that we tried. We've made a decision internally at this point to not make any decisions. Further, until we see what's going to happen at the state level. Because what we're hearing from local, the leaders on the local front that pushed this bill through, one of them happens to live in Adel. What we're hearing is it would appear that they're probably going to address this again at the State House this summer, or I'm sorry, this winter, and potentially will take local control away, which will mean that we're going to have to follow state law and we will have zero control over it. We're waiting to see what the state does before we make any decisions based on whether or not we're going to change our ordinance. What I can tell you is the communities who did have this ordinance, and whether it was a 1 day or whether it was a 1 month, or whether it was a 1 week, they all had similar problems. We've heard, I've talked to leaders from virtually every community around us. Doesn't matter what they did. The reality is that everybody was faced with this problem because of what was given to us. In one breath, the state wants to give us local control, and they want to say, we want you to choose, cities, what you want to do with fireworks. In another breath, they want to take away local control on some other issues that they took away local control with this year. We're waiting to see what they do. I think the reality is that there will be an adjustment made to our ordinance. I don't believe we will go with an all-out ban because I just don't see it being effective, because all we're doing is we're putting more pressure back on our law enforcement officials to handle the issue. These guys already are maxed out, and we would have to put law enforcement guys on nonstop in order to try and cover this, and at the end of the day, we still wouldn't be able to properly do it. Some of the leaders that we heard from around here, Johnston, Urbandale, Clive, Grimes, and those areas, they had it just as bad as we did, and they only allowed it for 1 day or had an all-out ban. So while we don't, me personally, from the seat that I am, and I've been very passionate about it, go back and watch the tapes, I've been very passionate and outspoken against what the state pushed down on us. We need to wait to see what they end up doing this time around, because we could make a decision that may be all for nothing come this session, and I believe that there's going to potentially be a change coming from their level. Yes?
And why are cities like Des Moines, they
Yep.
only allowed fireworks on the 4th, and they're considering banning them entirely?
Yeah, and exactly, and I think that we could do the same thing, but we're going to be faced with exactly what they were faced with, which is an all-out entourage of people that are just going to shoot them off like crazy. I don't agree with them either. But when you are allowing sales of fireworks right down the street, no longer do they have to drive to Missouri. When they can drive to Ankeny, when they can drive to Johnston, when they can drive anywhere and go buy fireworks, I mean, you guys can do all you can to try and stop them, but we all know that it's going to be virtually impossible to get a handle on it.
So you're saying because people will use fireworks, then you don't want to try to...
No, what I'm saying is that we...
I mean,
No,
people
no.
shoot people, people speed, people do all kinds of
Agreed.
things, but there are many laws against
Yep.
those types of things.
And I totally agree with you, but until we see what the state's going to do at their level, I don't know that there's anything that we can do. We didn't want to have this problem to begin with. I'll tell you straight up. When this was being pushed down to us, we had several conversations about it. We wanted nothing to do with this, not at all. And when it was signed into law at the 11th hour, which literally left cities about 6 weeks to make some decisions, everybody did the best that they could at the time. I still think you're going to see adjustments made across the metro and across the state. This isn't a problem that's just locally. We're all trying to figure out how to handle it. None of us want it. I mean, follow the money. I mean, that's what it comes down to. None of us want it, but it was pushed down to us from the state level.
Anybody else have questions? From Mayor or Councilman? Go ahead.
I have a question. Yeah, we just moved here in April, so we shouldn't really be talking about growth. But you know, everybody talks about managed growth. Exactly what do we mean by managed growth? I mean, we looked long and hard to find a place that we could build a small, reasonable house, and you can't. You can go to lots, and the size of which have restrictions on what you want to do. To give you an idea, we're the only house in Lost Lakes that has a 2-car garage, if you can imagine that. It's just, I mean, we see these giant houses on these relatively small lots. There's not a lot of green space. When there's no provision to make developers leave topsoil, so as a result you get sod put on, which is required by covenants, on rock, and you spend tons of money and wasting water and fertilizer. And fortunately, we put half our lot in native plants, and I hope that's not going to be an issue.
I'm writing your name down now.
Yeah. I mean, everybody talks about managed growth. I mean, you go to Ankeny, you go to Waukee, you go everywhere, we move from Des Moines. And you just see all that unrestricted growth going, but you know, we're gonna manage it, so exactly, when you say you wanna control growth and you wanna have nice lifestyle here, what exactly do you mean? Because, you know, unfortunately, when I see these developments, I don't really see that really being accomplished. I see yeah, anyway, just.
I'll be happy to answer that. In my opinion, managed growth is having proper ordinances in place so that you get a good product. And that's not a once and you're done thing. That's a continuous improvement process to get that done. And then once you have those, you have to have the equitable enforcement of those codes over everybody, every developer, every project, regardless of the size of the project, or if it's one house or 1,000, or whose name is the developer on it. They all has to be done fairly and objectively. Sometimes there are things come up that have to be decided. We have a very good planning and zoning staff in place that work with developers to get things done the right way, according to our right way. And we are, like I said, we continue to look at these ordinances. Right now, the P&Z is looking through our tree ordinance to put more teeth in it and to get so they have a reason to save more trees instead of just coming in and mowing them down wholesale. So that is my idea of it. You have the ordinances in place and then you equitably enforce those ordinances.
And don't feel like you have to, but I want to give you the opportunity to address it if you
Yeah,
like.
and I'm with Dan on the trees in town and whatnot, and the building within the ground that's already there, rather than wiping it out, flattening it, building on a bunch of squares and whatnot. I would love to sell my house. I've lived in town a long time and make the money off of it, but I couldn't afford to buy another house. I'd have to leave town. And that's a problem to me. I agree that there needs to be some, I think the mayor said $365,000 is the average housing start. If you're a salesman at Pepsi and you have a wife who's a teacher, you can't move to Polk City. I mean, you can't do it. And so there needs to be some kind of development and somebody encouraged to come in and build some moderately priced housing, and maybe $365,000 is moderate for some people, but it's not for me. Like some other communities are doing, and get all sorts of people to town, not just people that work downtown and work in West Des Moines and come here and do all their shopping there and come back here to live.
Okay, anybody else?
I'd agree, we have the ordinances and everything in place for building, but I would agree with Mike that, it's nice having these beautiful big homes everywhere in Polk City, but we need some more affordable living, I believe. I looked on Iowa Realty today and looked to see what the cheapest new construction single family home was, and it was $305,000. And there's a lot of people that would love to move to this community that can't afford something like that. I think we need a lot of more reasonably priced homes. If we can get some development in town that can build some nice starter homes at a more affordable price, I think that'd be great.
Managed growth is utilizing the tools that we have, and that's using our code, our ordinance, it's using our current comprehensive plan, and it's making sure that those documents are living and we can adjust them as needed. But we also have to understand that we have state laws in place, such as SUDAS. It's a guidebook, the state urban design standard manual, and we enforce that upon our developers. We also have to understand that developers are coming in here based on supply and demand, and the market is dictating that price of house. That price of house is good for our community. It brings in millions of dollars of taxable valuation. From 2015 to 2016, we had over $10 million of taxable value increase, or taxable valuation increase on residential alone. That's a lot of money for Polk City. The other thing to understand is when developers are coming in here and looking at land, they're doing the best that they can to develop that property. And we have a great planning and zoning staff, we have a great city staff, it's good city engineering. They are going to look at these developers and they are hounding them to make sure that we're not losing the trees, we're not losing the wetlands, we're not losing the creeks. There are state and federal laws against those things. And the city and the staff does what they can to do what they can. But we have to understand, as much as we want to build and leave everything as close to natural as can be, that's not always the best thing. Because if our front and backyards are so steep that our runoff is hitting those drainage ways and we don't have the buffer space, we're causing more harm to the natural environment than we're doing good. So sometimes getting that water off, getting that water into some regional retention systems is a good thing.
I think, you know, and part of this, and in just listening to the conversations here, it is the balance. I mean, we want the trees, we want the beautiful nature that we have here. It's very expensive to develop those lots, to preserve those trees, and they're in very high demand. So I think there's going to be some of that, and there is a demand for that, and I think we should keep it a priority to keep trees as a top priority, and the nature aspect. To get more affordable housing, you know, you can't have big treed lots. You can put, you know, ordinances in place, follow those to ensure that you have trees for the future, but again, it's supply and demand. People are willing to pay, you know, a very high premium for some of the lots here in Polk City, no matter what size, because Polk City is in demand. So finding a way to keep some balance as we grow, as far as what's available. But a lot of that is driven by the developers. So again, having good codes and ordinances in place and sticking with those, I think will be important.
Okay. Anybody else?
So I think one of the folks up there gave a very clear indication of his feeling on increases or changes in taxes. What are the rest of the candidates' feelings regarding that?
I think that's great. I'm sure you're referring to Dan. The fact that I tell people that Polk City has the lowest tax base in Polk County, people they can't believe it. I think the city's done a great job with that. I don't see any reason to go otherwise around that. We talk about everybody building, we talk about housing starts and whatnot, and I have no idea what a building permit costs in town, but why not raise what a building permit costs? Because what's another $100 or $200 to a guy building a $365,000 house? Use that money to help fund your fire department, your police department, things like that. Plant more trees in the parks that we currently have and whatnot.
But that's true. I mean, nobody wants to raise taxes. Nobody wants to pay higher taxes. I mean, we all live here in town, and nobody wants to pay more than what we need to. But we need things besides the residential growth. Like I've said before, we really need the commercial to help keep those taxes down. You know, if we want to keep where we're at on the property taxes, we need to be able to bring in taxes from other places. Bringing in commercial taxes, bringing in sales taxes, that's going to help us keep our property taxes down.
Oh yeah, I don't want to pay any more taxes than I have to. When I moved out here, that was not my priority. I was not looking at the lowest tax. I was looking at a community that was vibrant and wonderful. In my lifetime living here, do I think taxes will go up? Yes. It's just a matter of math. Where at some point in time, unless we get some very, very high commercial tax valuation, at some point in time we're going to have to raise taxes, and that's by either bonding, because we may need to bond it sometime, or we're going to have to potentially raise taxes. I don't want to, but if the demand is met for additional resources, additional staff, additional equipment, we're going to have to take a very, very hard look at it. And it may not be the popular thing to say, but I'm willing to at least listen to the opportunity for an increase in tax. Whether we vote on it, God, I hope we don't ever have to, but I think that's always on the table.
Yeah, like anyone, I don't want to pay more more taxes, and I don't wanna ask anybody else to pay more taxes. I think it's incredible that the city has the lowest tax rate in all of Polk County and has been able to hold taxes steady for as long as they can. Cost of living goes up. I mean, everything you pay for costs more over time. I think the city should keep doing everything they can to hold taxes as low as possible. Again, I believe in really trying to look ahead, you know, and I would hope that if it becomes inevitable that we're going to have to raise taxes at some point, to have a slow, very minimal, you know, long-term plan versus holding tight and not increasing taxes for a long time, and then all of a sudden realizing we don't have the capacity to serve our residents in the way that we need to. So, again, I don't want to be the person that has to sit up here and tell the citizens that we need to raise their taxes. But if that's the case, I would think that that would be my duty as a council person, to look out for the well-being of the community and not do anything that would be unnecessary, but to again look out for the best needs of the community. And if an increase were necessary at some time, I think hopefully there would be a lot of education and understanding that nobody would want to do it, but if it's something that has to be done, I would be open to it. Unfortunately, I know nobody likes to hear that, but you know, again, I'd rather have adequate services than not pay taxes. So.
Again, I'd like to add to that too. So I think something that's important to recognize when we talk about the lowest property tax rate in Polk County is all rolled up with everything else you're paying, whether it's DART, whether it's Broadlawns, whether it's DMAC, whether it's North Polk Schools and Polk City combined, we're fifth. We were sixth last year, we're fifth this year when it's all rolled up. So although I'd like to say that overall we're the lowest, we are the lowest from a property tax and what we ultimately get at that 790 rate. And when you look at what the others compared, there's quite a difference between us and even third. But all rolled up, we're I think currently fifth, we were about sixth. I've heard in the last year, particularly as people's home valuations went up, that I already pay the city enough money and that they think that we've raised tax rates. And I just want to be clear that we obviously didn't raise tax rates. We had nothing to do with your property valuation. That was done at the county level. And all of the communities in the metro clearly saw an increase. And so everybody's property taxes went up, but it's not a case of the city raising taxes. It's not a case of us raising your valuation. But all of the other entities too, DMAC, Broadlawns, North Polk Schools, everybody also received additional tax money at that point too. So just to be careful and to be clear, when we talk lowest tax rate in Polk County, that's where we are based on the municipal tax rate that you're getting, that you're paying to us at that about 58%, I think is what we get compared to the 90% from the commercial front. So just to be clear on that.
I have a question on public safety. Do you think we're talking about growth and everything with our fire departments, EMS and police department? What are your thoughts on with them? Do you think right now that they're able to handle the community? If so, what do you think about that? If not, what do you see happening in the future?
Anybody like to say some first?
Sure. I think we will be able to, we have plans in place for equipment to make sure we stay up to speed on all of our equipment and stuff. We're putting money away for new ambulance, new fire truck. We have agreements with area fire departments to help each other out. And we have now staff people here in the fire department from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, 7 days a week. We have people on staff to cut down response times. And we support all of, we make sure there's enough money and we put it ahead, like I said. I think we're going to be adequate now and into the foreseeable future with the approach of stuff we have in place, the staff we have. Yes, they will have to expand like anything else, but we will continue to meet the growth and demand as we have in the past without raising property taxes.
I think that the fire department's come a long way since growing up here. I know that if you got a call during the day, Deanna Deason used to get up from her desk, start the ambulance, pull it out, get it ready for whoever showed up. The fact that it's staffed from 7 to 7 I think is great as well. I think that is going to have to look at being expanded. I know from 6 in the morning till 5 at night, I'm not even in town. So I'm glad they're here for the people that are in town. But Polk City's a pretty big bedroom community, and I think that a lot of people leave town, so we're staffing it in the hours that there are less people in town than when there are more people in town. I think it's definitely important that they're here on those hours. The elementary school is huge, it's busting at the seams. They need to be there for those kids. I think it's great, but I think at some point they're gonna have to look at going later, if not even around the clock, with someone here in the station, who's a certified paramedic or whatnot, so you know there's always somebody here. So that's how I feel.
I think the city's done a good job with their EMS, fire department, and police department. Since Chief Kindig has came on, the police department has made great strides. We've had, he's hired some part-time officers to help out with the full-time officers. The fire department has grown tremendously. We have a great fire department, EMS. When I was a kid, it was just a little firehouse. It was actually now the city hall where the fire department was. And we have this nice fire department. We have a huge staff, a lot of great people on the fire department. I know, unfortunately, they had to help me a couple times, and they were great. And I think as long as we keep plan implemented to have the fire department and the police department adequately staffed and ready for the growth, I think we'll be in good shape.
Well, I addressed public safety a little bit ago, and I'll echo what I said. I hope I never have to call them. And I'm more than happy to make sure we have more than adequate services for public safety. I've had long conversations with Chief Kindig. I've talked to Dan Govins. I've talked to many of the firefighters and police officers. They have their resources planned out for the next few years. They're going to recycle in new vehicles as needed. We're going to need more staff at some point in time to keep up with the growth of our community. One officer per 1,000 people is probably not quite adequate. One FTE. When I'm out, I'm an early riser. I'm out at the gym here, Snap Fitness at 4 in the morning. When I see a police officer pull someone over on a traffic stop, I get worried. I mean, I'll sit there and wait for a minute, because if he needs backup, man, they're not there. And we need that backup 24/7. We need to trust our officers. We need to trust our EMTs and our firefighters. But that backup is a wonderful resource that we hope we never have to see used. But I'd much rather pay for that and never have to use it, just like any other kind of insurance.
All right. And I think I mentioned it earlier, I met with several of the department heads here in Polk City in preparation for my run here for city council, and the police and fire departments did acknowledge that, at some point we probably do need to look at staffing in those areas. They sounds like have plans for equipment. They really, especially the fire and EMS, work well with local surrounding communities. They said we couldn't do it without each other, so I applaud that effort there. Our fire department, nobody is a full-time fire department employee, so they have constraints of, they have other jobs, whether it be with another fire department or other full-time jobs. They have found a way to keep it staffed for the most part during the day, and again, it is a bedroom community that a lot of people are gone during the day, but again, our kids are here during the day, and as people have medical needs during the day, I think it will be very important to make sure that we feel that our fire and police staffing levels are adequate to support our growing population.
All right, well, do you have any closing remarks you would like to make?
I'll let them speak.
You have something?
Something we haven't, nobody's mentioned tonight, except just slightly, something we should all be very proud of in Polk City. We have an award-winning library, literally, but like everything else in Polk City, we're gonna outgrow that library also, if we haven't already. Because I know how many young kids there are here, and those are the primary users of our library. Does anybody think that is something that should be expanded? How can we do it?
I have a question, and I'm not very, I don't use the library much. Is the library still not open on Sunday?
Correct.
Correct, yes.
Open the library on Sunday. I mean, kids aren't in school on Sunday. I mean, I think that as far as the usage of the library, again, it's great the library's open during the day, but it's a bedroom community. People leave. Kids are in school and whatnot. I guess if the library needs to be expanded, that's something that will have to be looked at, but it's like the ball fields, you need to utilize it when it can be utilized, in my opinion, rather than having it closed on Sunday.
Anybody else like to?
Well, when the library was built, that had option for expansion on it, so again, the council looking forward and making things easier for councils down the road. It'll be easy to expand the footprint of that building to get, have more space. The meeting space is what they're really short on now for groups and stuff, as opposed to running out of shelf space. And we've done, the library director has conducted on multiple times surveys of surrounding communities, and there is almost no community that has their libraries open on Sunday of this size.
Anybody else?
Well, I think the library, I think the library is another part of the community that is phenomenal. When I was a kid, it was just a little dinky building that's now a shelter house. And they've put out this nice building, and the staff at the library do a great job. I think there's a lot of opportunities, lots of things you can do at the library. And, if that's something we need to look at, I think that's an important thing to look at, whether we need to expand the building or if we need to build a new building. Because definitely, just like everything else with the growth of Polk City, we need to be able to keep up with what we have.
My family and I are regular users of the library. We probably contribute a fair amount of dollars for fines every year. We're glad to pay for it. The library is busy all hours of the day. When there are opportunities in the morning and the afternoon for moms to bring in their children for story time. Wednesdays or Thursdays at 10 o'clock, my wife used to take my kids. There are other opportunities throughout the day for people to come in and play cards and play games and have various social activities. During the evening, there's always something going on there. There's some sort of club. There's kids' nights that we participate in and watch movies. The library will need to be expanded someday as growth dictates, but we need to manage what's there now, make sure we have a 21st century library where we have the opportunity to check out books electronically, as well as the hardbound, those old-fashioned things. But there is opportunity for growth in the library, but we need to make sure that the director of the library can communicate that to us. City staff and city council understands the need for it, and we act on the demand.
All right, well, being the person up here that is on the library board, I hate to tell Jamie here that, in listening to all the department heads that I met with, there are a lot of demands on the city for space, resources, things like that. So it's not just the library. I think it would be great to expand the library. I do think there's future need. Do I think that, is a next couple of years here? Unfortunately, probably not. But we have amazing staff at the library. They use their resources. They have great ideas. I know Jamie has some ideas to more effectively use the space that we do have, knowing that, it might be a longer range term plan as far as expanding the library, but I see great things coming for the library as far as effectively using what we do have, making some improvements that make sense, that can make it even better to serve our community. And as far as the staffing on Sundays, I personally would love to see it staffed on Sundays. That would require probably more staff. I know the staff operates very tightly right now. It's a small staff. So again, that would be another expense to the city to support more staffing at the library. So it's balancing all of those priorities. But again, I think there are great opportunities at the library, and they will be coming, whether that means expanding space or effectively using the space and resources we have.
Thank you. I really just wanted to get a plug in for the library. I'm very proud of it.
I appreciate that. It's a great thing, and
I don't know
like
if
I said, we've
anybody
got-
else in here goes back to when the bookmobile was down on the square, but I know a couple people in here that do. So we've come a long way, and it's something we'd be very proud of. When I call award winning, it's because it is.
It's an excellent thing to mention. And I thank all of you for coming out and actively participating and not just filling a chair, but really engaging them and caring about your community. So it's amazing. I am going to let the mayor have the last closing remarks, respect there. So, but just for me, I really appreciate your engagement in our community and look forward to whoever's bringing it. Thank you.
I'd like to echo Dez's comments again. I really appreciate all you guys being up here, all you guys coming in, anybody who's gonna take time to watch this on YouTube, all that other fun stuff, including my kids. So yeah, I'm on YouTube. No, so you know, for me, last week I had the opportunity to go to North Polk and go speak to a group of 7th grade kids, and the topic that I got to go speak to them about was leadership. It was kind of a humbling experience for me because I had the opportunity to go speak in front of a group of kids and go visit some teachers that are still there from when I was there. But I got to speak in front of my daughter's class, and it was way cool, and it was really a full circle experience for me. What I enjoy about getting the opportunity to do that, I get to speak to 3rd graders every year, and I got the opportunity to go do this, and so I took it, and I went up there, and they asked me, and the 3rd graders asked me the same question, and the 7th graders asked me the same question, and they said, do you like being mayor? It's always just a question I think about. I think really hard about it. The short answer is yes. The long answer is I love it. The really long answer is I'm humbled. I'm absolutely humbled and honored to be mayor of Polk City. I am every day. Every day I wake up and I think about what we can do to make Polk City better, and I go to bed and I stress about what we didn't get done today and what we can do tomorrow, and then I call Gary in the morning and I tell him some crazy harebrained idea. I was taught at a young age to leave the place better than it was when you found it. In the last 4 years, I'm very proud of everything that we've done. I ask for your vote again. These guys are in the same boat. I'm very proud of what we've done. I honestly believe that in the last 4 years, it's better than it was when I got it. I hope that in the next 4 years, if I'm elected, that we can again improve on where we've been. We're not done. We've got a long ways to go. I'm humbled and honored to be in this position. Do we make the right choices every time? Oh, heck no. Elected officials don't. I mean, just watch the news on any given day. But we try. And we really try, and we work hard with our staff every day to make the decisions, and we hope to be open for you guys to reach out to us and to talk to us. I try and be connected to the community as much as I can. Somebody calls, emails, I try and get back to them on that same day. And I'd say that to anybody out here. If you've got any issues, questions, concerns, whatever, don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. Reach out to these guys, reach out to the staff level. We're all working hard for you guys every single day. We appreciate you guys coming, we appreciate you guys being connected. If there's anything we can ever do, please feel free to reach out. Thank you again for coming. If you get a chance, stick around, ask some more questions, and I echo exactly what they said. Come out and vote. I'm kind of a geek when it comes down to it, and I really have watched the election numbers over the last since 2010. And the highest numbers we see are during the presidential election. And while those are great numbers we can see, and we had like 86% of people vote in the election for our president last year. Where can you make the biggest impact? It's locally. And when we had a school board election, we had less than 400. 2 years ago, about that same number. So again, where can you make the biggest impact is here. Go vote. Go vote next Tuesday. Talk to your friends and neighbors. Go vote. If we can ever do anything to help, let us know. Thanks for being here.